A coronavirus is a type of virus that can infect the respiratory tract, meaning the nose, mouth, throat, sinuses, or lungs. There are many types of coronaviruses, and most cause only mild illness, such as the common cold. But some coronaviruses can cause severe illness. The most likely way people can become infected is by droplets that contain the virus. These droplets carry the virus into the air and can enter through the nose, mouth, throat, and lungs of a person who is within 6 feet or 2 meters. The virus infects the lungs, causing the lungs to become inflamed. The alveolar sacs have to be healthy for the body to breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. Infection of the virus causes damage to the cells of the lungs and triggers an inflammatory reaction. Fever may develop. With severe inflammation, inflammatory fluid fills the lungs. This reduces the function of the alveoli, resulting in coughing and difficulty breathing. The oxygen level in the blood may decrease. In some people who become severely ill, other organs may be affected, such as the kidneys or the heart.
Bats gathered in China for food. A vet here captured one, and in a containment cage, she showed it to me.
And why bats? How confident are you that the coronavirus came from bats?
So I'm probably 90% confident that the new coronavirus came from bats.
Actually originate in animals. Some of the viruses that cause the flu come from birds and pigs. HIV/AIDS comes from chimpanzees. The deadly Ebola virus likely originates in bats. And in the case of the 2019 coronavirus, there's some evidence it went from a bat to a pangolin before infecting a human. While viruses are very good at jumping between species, it's rare for a deadly one to make this journey all the way to humans. That's because it would need all these hosts to encounter each other at some point. That's where the Wuhan market comes in. It's a wet market. A kind of place where live animals are slaughtered and sold for consumption.
It was not a surprise at all, and I think that it was not a surprise to many scientists.
Peter Lee is a professor and expert on China's animal trade.
The cages stack above one over another. Animals at the bottom are often soaked with all kinds of liquid, animal excrement, pus, blood, or whatever the liquid they're receiving from the animals above.
That's exactly how a virus can jump from one animal to another. If that animal then comes in contact with or is consumed by a human, the virus could potentially infect them. And if the virus then spreads to other humans, it causes an outbreak. Wet markets are scattered all over the world, but the ones in China are particularly well known because they offer a wide variety of animals, including wildlife. This is a sample menu reportedly from the market in Wuhan. These animals are from all over the world, and each one has the potential to carry its own viruses to the market. The reason all these animals are in the same market is because of a decision China's government made decades ago. Back in the 1970s, China was falling apart. Famine had killed more than 36 million people, and the communist regime, which controlled all food production, was failing to feed its more than 900 million people. In 1978, on the verge of collapse, the regime gave up this control and allowed private farming. While large companies increasingly dominated the production of popular foods like pork and poultry, some smaller farmers turned to catching and raising wild animals as a way to sustain themselves.
At the very beginning, it was mostly peasant household backyard operation of turtles, for example. That's how wildlife farming started to get off the ground.
And since it started to feed and sustain people, the Chinese government backed it.
So it was imperative for the government to encourage people to make a living through whatever productive activities they can find themselves in. You can lift yourself out of poverty. No matter what you are doing, that's okay.
But then in 1988, the government made a decision that changed the shape of wildlife trade in China. They enacted the Wildlife Protection Law, which designated the animals as resources owned by the state and protected people engaged in the utilization of wildlife resources.
That's one of the most devastating problems of the law, because if you designate the wildlife as a natural resource, that means it is something you can use for human benefits.
The law also encouraged the domestication and breeding of wildlife. And with that, an industry was born. Small local farms turned into industrial-sized operations. For example, this bear farm started with just 3 and eventually grew to more than 1,000 bears. Bigger populations meant greater chances that a sick animal could spread disease. Farmers were also raising a wide variety of animals, which meant more viruses on the farms. Nonetheless, these animals were funneled into the wet markets for profit. While this legal wildlife farming industry started booming, it simultaneously provided cover for an illegal wildlife industry. Endangered animals like tigers, rhinoceroses, and pangolins were trafficked into China. By the early 2000s, these markets were teeming with wild animals when the inevitable happened.
The 2019 novel coronavirus is a newly discovered strain from the coronavirus family that causes respiratory disease. Humans have long been infected by coronavirus, as it is one of those responsible for the common cold. It is a contagious viral infection spread through inhalation or ingestion of viral droplets. As a result, coughing and sneezing and touching infected surfaces are primary sources of infection. The structure of coronavirus has multiple parts. Inside the virus lies the genetic encoding that allows the virus to hijack human cells and turn them into virus factories. A protein encapsulates the genetic material known as the viral envelope. On the surface of the viron are S and HE proteins. The structure of the 2019 novel coronavirus is a mutation. For more information on this, see the link below. The large S glycoproteins are used by the virus to gain entry to human cells. They most likely attach to angiotensin-converting enzyme 2 receptors on the cell membrane, allowing the virus entry. The exact mechanism for this is not known. Most likely, as shown here, the human cell ingests the virus in a process known as endocytosis. Once inside the cytoplasm, the endosome opens to reveal the virus's genetic material, a single-stranded RNA. The virus hijacks the cell's machinery to replicate the RNA in N proteins and uses the endoplasmic reticulum to form its M protein outer layer and the all-important S protein. After replication, the virus is carried by the Golgi bodies out of the cell in a process known as exocytosis, so that it can infect other cells. Meanwhile, the stress of viral production on the endoplasmic reticulum eventually leads to apoptosis, or cell death. It should be noted that the mechanism of action for 2019 novel coronavirus is unknown. However, an outbreak of coronavirus infections in the Wuhan province of China in December 2019 is threatening to emerge as the next pandemic. At current count, over 40,000 cases and 600 deaths have been reported in China and over 300 cases in 25 other countries. Unofficial modeling studies by a number of institutions claim infections of over 150,000. The alarming speed of transmission is in part because the virus spreads through the air and by touch. Using the power of 3D medical animation, this video covers what is a pandemic, how this coronavirus is spreading, how coronavirus attacks the body, and what are recommended precautions to take for protecting against epidemics. Pandemics indicate outbreaks of disease that spread to cover an entire region or the world. A pandemic can result in massive loss of life. In the last 100 years, there have been 4 global pandemics, the worst with the 1918 influenza pandemic, resulting in an estimated 50 to 100 million deaths. While no global pandemic has been born from the family of coronavirus, 2 regional epidemics have resulted from this family of viruses. They include severe acute respiratory syndrome, or SARS, and Middle East respiratory syndrome, or MERS, in 2001 to 2003 and 2012 to 2015 respectively, and resulted in over 1,500 deaths. Much is yet to be known about the 2019 novel coronavirus. An early study of 99 infected showed a high mortality of 11%, similar to SARS, and ICU admission rates of 23%. An earlier study described a virus pathology with an 8-day incubation period, a week of infection, followed by a potential escalation to hospitalization and intensive care over another 8 to 10 days. Other indications put the mortality rate closer to 4%. The virus has, as of February 6th, over 40,000 confirmed cases in China alone, with almost 200 cases in over 25 other countries. However, Dr. Jonathan Reed from the UK believes that the numbers of actual cases is far greater and has estimated between 170 to 300,000 by February 9th. This is because symptoms can be mild and escape reporting and testing. What's more, in stark contrast to SARS, Some patients may be infectious in their incubation period.
我们对这个重症的病人，比如发烧、体温很高的病人，进行一个氧气的支持，流量的吸氧，甚至要创无创呼吸机以及这个有创呼吸机，还有一些个抗病毒、抗感染一些营养支持各方面的一个治疗吧。有一些个已经进入了一个相对稳定的阶段。也各项指标呢也趋于正常了，精神状态也比较好了。其实还有一些个病人恢复的还挺快的，经过精心的治疗隔离以后呢，有几个病人也是在病房里，其实已经特别的期待着出院了也。
刚来的时候发烧，刚刚控制住，然后咳嗽非常的严重，从早上眼睛睁开一直到晚上睡觉，咳都不带停的，喘的也很厉害。现在经过几天的治疗，那明显咳的情况和喘的情况缓解了非常的多，好多了，应该说好多了。医生今天都没有给我输液，只用口服和做雾化处理，证明我的身体已经相比之前来的时候恢复了很多。我们的痊愈和出院，对于所有来帮助我们的人，包括建设火神山医院的人，包括全国所有的网友，还有所有的病人，都是一个非常大的激励和鼓励。我希望我能够是第一批从火神山医院出院的病人。
是，我是不是就是说你刚才说的？
对，因为我经过人家说这个他们有跟行动的。
每天这样累不累？
能不累吗？憋气。
会出好多汗吗？
对。